Today we're going to look at what hours we will use for session time on a symbol. This is fairly critical to get right because you might have something with a 24-hour session time, but to use 24-hour data is going to work very badly. Sometimes even there can be multiple session times that are acceptable. So I'm going to start with the DAX, and that DAX contract has got a lot of leverage to it, but you can also trade the mini DAX, and I've set the date as far back as we can go, which is October the 21st, 2002. Time zone is local on this computer, which is Central USA time, and currently I've got the full session. It's a very long session time from 8 AM to 10 PM in Germany, and I'm using 15-minute bars. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to insert a strategy that comes with GSB code called session time calcs, and that works out the range and the volume of the bars. So we can see that the time ends at 15:00, so that's actually in central time because the chart here is set to local time, and it starts in central time. It actually starts at 0. So I'm going to cut and paste this and put it into Excel. I'm also going to do the same thing, but I'm going to put it to exchange time. A lot of people get confused over this, and I can completely understand why. Now on the left we have the time in local time, and you can see that it ends at 15:00, and on the right we've got the time on exchange time. I'm going to export this chart in local time, which is the time on the left, and that would mean that the bar interval will end at 15:00. However, before I do that, I need to look at where is the volume and the volatility in the DAX. Now, looking at this 315, you can see that the volume has massively increased here, and then it keeps on going till 10:30, and then the volume massively decreases, and the range is actually fairly constant in the early hours, but it starts reducing again at about the 10:30 mark. So it would be valid to trade the DAX from the very beginning of the day here till 10:30. It would also be valid to trade it from the 315 bar, which actually starts at 3:00, and it would be valid to stop at 10:30, or it would be valid to stop at 15:00. What I've always done with the DAX is I trade at the same hours as US day session, which would ultimately be from 8:30 to 15:00, but today I'm going to choose the time of 3:15, which is actually the 3 o'clock. The bar starts at 3 o'clock but ends at 3:15, and I'm going to go to 10:30. I'll show you what we do on Tradestation in this case. Is we would create a custom session time, which I have already set up here. And that is from 10 o'clock to 5:30 PM, which is 17:30, and that corresponds to the time that we had on the right chart. So our Tradestation session times are exchange time, but when we export them, when our chart is set to local time, the CSV data exported will be local time. I'm also going to use 15-minute bars and 30-minute and 60-minute as data 2. Just to clarify, data 2 will be 30 and 60-minute only, and there's no need to put the 15-minute on data 2 because it's already used on data 1. So when I export this file, I'm going to click on here. I've also called it, instead of being DAX, I've called it DAX 1030 because that's the mock time, and I've also got DAX systems with a 1500 mock time, so I'm actually putting that mock time in the symbol. And I've already saved this, and if we edit that file, you will see, I'll just put that on the end so you can see that there. You'll see that the end time is 10:30 here. So you can see that's 10:30 there, and this bar here says 3:15, but it starts at 3:00 because the time in the data window there is the time of the close of the bar, not the open of the bar. When we go to GSB and we go to the contracts list, what I did was I right click on the DAX, I did clone, and I cloned a symbol called DAX 1030, and note that the end time here is 10:30 and 10:30 again. This time here should actually be 15. I then go to data 1 and I select DAX 1030, and I've done it from that date in 2003 from memory to today's date, which is 2018. And data 2, I've used 30 and 60 minute. Probably even better just to use 30, but I'm just experimenting today. And so that's your data 2 time frames. What I've also done is the dates. I'm going to leave 2 years and 4 months out of sample. This is at your discretion what you want to do. And the problem with this concept is 2016 to the end of 2017 is a fairly difficult time to trade, but 2018, often you'll make a heap of money, but sometimes you'll actually lose a fair bit too. But it depends if you're on the right side of the moves of the early part of 2018.